Welcome to the Sociology of the Sweet Science. I am joined by Nico Ali Walsh. And Nico, how are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Oh, I could not be better. I have so many questions to ask you, and I'm going to start firing away.
I'm
Um,
ready. I'm ready.
okay, so Nico, you're the heir to what many called the greatest. On the October 27th press conference at MSG, you responded, "Knew from the start who I was. I think people are starting to give me my own name. So it's not about me finding my own name." Can you talk about your grandfather's influence regarding your pursuit into the ring?
Yeah, so I wouldn't be boxing if it wasn't for him. We
Hmm.
were very close. So he kind of just pushed me towards boxing a little bit. And he was my idol growing up. He was my hero growing up, just like same as, my mom or my dad, but it was my grandfather. Um, so I just wanted to do what he did, and it
Hmm.
happened to be boxing. So I just got into boxing.
And what age was that?
I mean, there's photos of me when I was 3 years old in the
Hmm.
gym with him, like him hitting the bag and me just putting on gloves and just touching.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't get in the ring till I was like 10.
Okay. Now, when you say get into the ring, do you mean like a sparring or a amateur or a Golden Gloves? What are we
It was
talking
like it was like amateur. I got my first start with basically no training. I did a few exhibitions that was for raising money for childhood cancer.
about?
So I got into the ring with a crowd of people, and then I would fight a dude. I was like 10 years old. I would fight a guy, and it was just to raise money. It didn't go on the amateur record or nothing like that, but it was
Hmm.
it was experience.
Now, what's so interesting about you doing that is, if I recall, wasn't it Don King who got Muhammad Ali to go do a charity event for a hospital, and that's how their whole connection started?
Really, I don't know how the connection started. You probably know more than I do, honestly.
I hope I'm correct, or else I'm gonna have to open up Final Cut Pro and edit that out. But I'm pretty sure. Um, and I think there's so much to talk about with your grandfather, but I want to focus on you because you're 7-0, and with 5 knockouts, and the one fight that you felt you could have done better, knock the guy out. Like,
Yes,
you are truly on a mission. And like you said at the press conference, you are cementing your own legacy.
absolutely. Yeah, no, and that's what it's all about. That's what I'm
Mhm.
in boxing for. I'm in boxing because of my grandfather, but I'm
Mhm.
staying in there because of myself.
Absolutely. And so when you signed with Top Rank, and obviously Bob Arum, and the first fight that Bob Arum promoted was Javalo Ali.
Right.
What's it like to be working with Bob Arum?
I wouldn't work with anyone else. He's the greatest person to be working with. Boxing is kind of a sleazy sport. There's bad people everywhere. He's not one of those people. He's one of those
Mhm.
gems that are still around, and it's a blessing to be signed with him.
Were you offered any other by any other promoters? Um
No, no one knew I was going pro.
oh,
I,
wow.
I approached Top Rank,
Uh-huh.
and it was immediate.
Okay. And when so you started August of last year?
Yeah, that was my first pro fight, August
So
14th.
most boxers nowadays, they fight like once a year, twice a
Right.
year. And go back to almost an old school style of boxing. You're like Foreman in the 80s, like fighting once a month, not
Yeah,
but what do you think that will slow down as your career progresses, and have more challenging opponents? How do you expect your say your next 5 years to plan out?
it will slow down at some point because of course I'll be getting opponents that are harder, every fight my opponent has stepped up.
Mhm.
You can look at like I haven't faced an opponent with a losing record, so
Mhm.
it's like every time I fight, I'm facing someone better. So I will reach a point where I space out my fights more.
Mhm.
It's not my call. It's really Top Rank's call. Because if
Mhm.
it was up to me, I'd fight every week. I don't care. I love fighting,
I
and I
love
stay in
that
shape.
attitude.
So
Yeah.
I'm ready for that. But yeah, no, there will come a point, but hopefully not in the next couple years. So I'm
Ex
gonna stay busy.
exactly. So, what, for our viewers, what weight class are you currently fighting in?
I'm fighting at middleweight, which is 160, and
Okay.
I want to stay there for now.
Okay. So you don't want to go to super middle 168?
No, definitely at some point I see myself going up because I'm only 22,
Mhm.
and I'm still growing, but I don't see myself trying to go down. Like
Yes.
it's difficult enough for me to stay at 160.
Mhm.
I don't want to make it more difficult on myself and then get on the scale with like my face sunken in. I don't want to be one of those guys. I,
Oh, I
I want
know.
to stay where I'm comfortable.
Now, the, did you follow the Connor Ben Chris Eubank Jr.
Yes,
Saga? And it was
yes,
just, oh, that was just a travesty.
crazy.
Yeah.
I know.
And it's like you're 160. Eubank Jr. was a natural 160. He only had to
Right,
cut 3 pounds. And then Ben's promoter, Eddie Hearn, says to him, well, Connor Ben has to go up 10 pounds. And that's the real challenge. I'm like, no, when you haven't weighed 157 since you're a teenager, it's
right.
really hard to cut that.
Yeah.
Now when you're not say fighting, what do you walk around at?
I healthy
Mhm.
175. I try
Okay.
not to get anything above 175 because that just makes it harder on myself.
For the
Getting
weight
back
cut?
down to that weight.
Yeah. Um, Now to maintain that weight, is it just staying in the gym and in a regimented level and
Yeah.
all that? Do you
It's
work out?
mainly just not eating bad all the time, and it is staying in the gym because if I wanted to, a lot of these boxers, unfortunately, they balloon up between fights. If I wanted to do that, I'd be walking around at 85
Yeah,
easily, but I would look like a different person.
exactly.
So I'm healthy at 175, and then I
Mhm.
can get down to 160, 159.
Now, when you know you're 7-0, what have you learned, in just a year plus in the ring? What experience has these quick fights, not quick fights, these, pretty quick in succession fights taught you?
Right. It's honestly what it is experience. It's hard to put into words,
Mhm.
but you can train um 24 hours a day for a year,
Mhm.
and you won't get the experience you have in just one fight.
Mhm.
It's a whole different experience. So that's what I've learned is just the experience. I can train as much as I want. I can watch as much film as I want. I can eat as good as I want, but
Mhm.
it's not fight experience. So that's what I've been learning more than anything is that experience of being in the ring
Mhm.
and feeling those shots, taking them, giving them back. There's you can't replicate that.
Now, would you say Bob does a wonderful job at progressing you? Because I see his heavyweight prospect, Jared Anderson. He's
Yes.
really, really pacing him in a proper, methodical way. And I feel like he's almost doing that with you as well, because, well, Top Rank has a potpourri of great talent. You two are in many ways the marquee prospects, and to name a few. Do you find that the progression that Bob is, you know, putting you on track for, to be something that you can manage, and or do you wish the competition was harder?
No, honestly, I put my 100% faith in Bob and the matchmakers at Top Rank. They're
Mhm.
the best in the business. I truly believe that, and a lot of people will tell you that. So if they had me fighting Canelo, my next
Mhm.
fight, I'd be like, okay,
Yep.
It's your guys' call, so I have 100% faith in them.
Now you sound like Jake Paul.
Oh my God. No, I take back what I said.
Now, as a man who comes from such great boxing pedigree, I have to ask, because my last chapter of the book is going to be about the unfortunate celebrity exhibition boxing. Because
Right.
I want to ask your thoughts about the whole celebrity YouTube exhibition boxing.
Honestly, I think it's dangerous. But it's mainly a money thing for them, and I understand that everyone needs to make money, I guess. So I think it's cool. They can stay in their own lane, do their own thing. I think where people draw the line is when they start trying to, like you said, like the whole Canelo thing. I know Paul mentioned Canelo. Everyone knows that that's never going to happen. That would be devastating if that happened. Because as much as people don't like Jake Paul, I mean, me, for example, I don't want to see anyone get hurt, and people literally die in the ring. So no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that happen. That's the dangers behind the celebrity boxing stuff.
Completely. And it's the lack of technique, footwork, where to throw the punch, where to move your foot when you throw the punch, that these amateur boxers, so to speak, I wouldn't even call them amateurs, I would call them sub amateurs, and
Right.
don't know how to necessarily navigate the ring.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And I mean, yeah, it's for publicity, it's for money. I don't think it'll last very long. Unfortunately, I think someone's going to get hurt if they keep, trying to match up boxers versus people who don't know how to fight. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, and I think the Zone series that they have of YouTube stars is a little bit more nerve-wracking, because at least say Jake Paul, Anderson Silva, which I didn't get to watch obviously because I was at your fight.
Right.
I went online afterwards and I looked at it, and to me that seems a little bit more fair than some of the stuff that we're seeing, like Sam Hyde versus some random guy in the Zone. And unfortunately, it brings in a lot of viewership, which is good for a younger audience, which is why I'm conflicted about this. In many ways, it's good because it draws in new fans, but the issue with, in my opinion, the issue with boxing is it's a hard sport to get into because there's no central network.
Right. I mean, it's tough. It's kind of like the WWE in a sense, where the WWE athletes, they're the real deal in terms of the preparation it takes. Of nobody's negating the amount of hard work it takes to prepare for a WWE match, but it's not boxing. It's not real like that, So it's very similar. The celebrity boxing is very similar to WWE in terms of it's focused on entertainment, whereas boxing is a lot more serious, and your life is on the line, where like with the celebrity matches, they don't understand that their life is on the line. And I don't know. Yeah, it brings different eyes though. That's what everyone's conflicted with.
Exactly. So how do you feel about, say, UFC?
Yeah, no, I'm a big UFC fan also.
And with UFC, what elements strike you about it? What do you like about UFC in comparison to boxing?
Honestly, it's unfortunate because I'm such a big boxing fan. The only thing I really like about UFC is the boxing aspect. So yeah, I'm not as big of a fan as you have with MMA as I am with boxing, because I would watch MMA for the boxing parts of it.
Exactly. Like my favorite UFC bouts are just two guys get in the middle and they just strike for 25
Yeah,
minutes.
and that's how it is for a lot of people. But when it comes to that, I'm like, well, I should just watch boxing then, you know?
Exactly. And the issue is like, so the month of November, I think we don't have any fights until Lopez December 10th.
Yeah,
And I think there might be one at Barclays coming up. There's a few rumored. Crawford Spence was, called off, and that largely has to do with the politics. I was wondering, with what you can say, how do you feel about the politics in boxing?
I think it's stupid. It's that's exactly what it is. It's politics. That
Mhm.
shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a thing. Back in the day, like the poster behind you, Hearns Hagler, my grandfather Joe Frazier, they would
Mhm.
just fight each other. If they want to fight, they're gonna fight.
Exactly.
And it sucks because Crawford and Spence clearly want to fight each other. No one's ducking.
Mhm.
Okay. It's the outside parties that I believe are getting in the way, and it's
Yeah.
unfortunate. I wish there's something we could do about it, but I'm not well versed enough in that aspect of boxing to be able to come up
Mhm.
with like a plan.
Exactly. And we saw this in September with Fury Joshua. It was just
Yeah,
like this whole, it's that, in my opinion, is the biggest detractor to the sport. You have
it
these
is.
big mega fights that are talked about and talked about. Like, how long have we been talking about Wilder Joshua? And
Right.
we haven't seen it yet. And whenever we get like just a great matchup, I'm grateful for that, because it's so rare that we don't have, I'm not a gambler, but let's just say minus 5,000 Canelo, and then like plus, 350 the other guy. Like,
Right.
it's
Right.
crazy. And, I understand why that is and why we have, like tune-up fights, so to speak. But I feel like, it's with these fights, we don't have that kind of mega fight like we used to.
No, no. But you know what? The fight that just got signed is Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez, which
Yes.
is huge. Those
Yes.
kind of fights are great for the sport.
Exactly. And now, as someone who's signed to Top Rank, are you allowed to talk about a PBC card?
I'm allowed to fight on any card that Top Rank um co-promotes with.
Okay, so like say Wilder Fury 3, you would have been able to
Yeah,
fight on.
I
Okay.
would. I would. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you've been around boxing your entire life. This is kind of my favorite question to ask. What is the best fight that you've been to live and then also watched on TV?
Um, the most hyped fight that I watched on TV was Mayweather Pacquiao.
Oh, what is this?
That was the most hyped. That was crazy. The biggest in person.
Hmm.
Um, I'd say my favorite in person was Plant versus Canelo.
Wow. Okay.
That was my favorite because I'm a huge Canelo fan,
Me too. Me too.
and Caleb Plant is the real deal. So it was a great fight.
And I was at the Wilder fight week. He is such a nice guy, and he's also in Vegas, so I'm sure you.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. He actually one of the guys in his training camp invited me out to photograph and do some interviews, because I think training camp is so necessary to the preparation for the fight, because you always hear there are two fights: the fight in the ring, the fight on the scale. And I'm
right.
curious to see how the preparation and the workouts and just the level of intensity that these fighters bring. And someone like Caleb Plant, who's, I believe, his only losses to Canelo, and that
Yeah,
was a way more competitive fight than anyone expected.
right, right.
And his knockout before the Wilder fight, I couldn't believe it. I mean, Durrell just, I mean, it was like, if I blinked, I would have missed it. It was
Yeah, I
in
did miss it because I was battling between that and Devin Haney's fight on my phone, so I missed it. I 1 second it took.
Yes, yes. So the guy in front of me was watching the Haney fight, and then so between rounds, I was like, "Who's up? Who's up?" And he's like, Haney by a mile. Yeah,
Yeah,
but So you were at the PBC card for Wilder?
Yes.
How
No,
about
I wasn't at that fight. I was watching that from my house.
okay. Now as a boxer, what would you say are, as far as nutrition, routine, regimen, what goes into your day-to-day activities?
Well, right now outside of camp, I try to stay as healthy as possible.
Mhm,
Like when it comes to the weekends, I'll be able to eat what I want basically. But
mhm,
during camp, there's nothing at all. That no sweets,
mhm,
nothing like that. And it's for about 6 weeks before the fight.
mhm.
That's why I've always been on weight.
No Jolly
Yes,
Ranchers?
no Jolly Ranchers, not even the small ones like that. It's like it might be a mental thing too, just saying no.
Exactly. It's like the dare program of boxing.
Right, right.
Now, when you assembled your team, your training team, cut man, all of that, your grandfather, he worked with maybe the greatest trainer of all time,
Right.
Angelo Dundee. How did you go about assembling your own team and someone that you trust and can work with and all that?
It's trial and error.
Mhm,
I just the team that I'm with now, I just I was lucky enough to just be embraced by them,
mhm,
and I'm with the perfect team now.
mhm,
And yeah, I trust these guys, and people are seeing the difference in between fights,
mhm.
uh, and it shows. So I'm definitely with the right team.
Definitely, yeah. No, I before I had to go up to the press box, there was like no one in the front row, so I got a great video of when you have him up against the ropes, just like for like 20 seconds. I'll have to send
Yeah.
it to you. But with that performance at on the Lomachenko card, were you bummed that you didn't get the knockout?
I went into the fight knowing that this guy was durable. He went up against some good competition. His only
Hmm.
two losses were against some really good competition.
Hmm.
Um, I was kind of hoping that it went 6 rounds because I didn't think people thought I could go 6 rounds. And
Hmm.
I went 6 rounds with ease. Like I wasn't tired at all. In
Hmm.
fact, I didn't know the sixth round was the sixth round until right before. And
Hmm.
I was mad.
Uh-huh.
Normally, you want it to go by quicker, but I wanted to go by slower. So
Hmm.
I was happy with it going 6 rounds.
So in the Ken Burns doc on your grandfather, they mention a story about his bike getting stolen,
Yeah,
and I was wondering, that was like the catalyst for him to get into boxing. You know what I mean? Like to fight, all that.
right.
Well, was there a moment like that for you?
Probably just my grandfather
Hmm.
pushing me towards boxing.
Hmm.
I didn't get my bike stolen.
No.
But he I I think mine is more so my okay, so if you look at the story of how my grandfather started boxing, he started it to so he could beat up the guy who stole his bike.
Hmm.
So I started it so I could be like my grandfather. So
Hmm.
that's the difference between my story and his story. But that would be the catalyst. It's just me looking up to him.
What about your mother?
She didn't want me boxing.
Mhm. Really? And
Yeah.
did your grandfather want you boxing?
Yes, he was the only person who wanted me boxing in my family.
Oh
So
wow.
it really pushed me towards it. That's what really set my mind on it.
And your mother was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
No, that's my aunt,
Your aunt. Oh,
Layla.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. Okay. Sorry for the mix up.
no
Yeah.
problem.
You are of the Muslim faith. You are
Yes.
vocal about it. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, your grandfather was a Muslim. And over time we see back when he was, draft dodging and all that, he was chastised. But
Right.
if you look at him now, in 2022, he stood up for his rights, his beliefs, and all that. And there is this completely new spin on, what happened during Vietnam.
Right.
So that shift and sticking to one's ethics and morals, does that carry over to who you are as an individual and your faith?
Yeah, 100%. That's just how I was raised.
Hmm.
So that's in my heart. That's like everything that he stood for, I stand for, and I will continue to stand for. That's how I was raised, by
Hmm.
my parents even. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy that everyone changed their minds. They didn't realize that they were wrong until later on.
Hmm.
But it's important to be like he never changed who
No.
he was. It's important to stay true to yourself, and I think that's a big pillar for me.
Yes. Now, in say the future, not any specific year, who would be your dream fight?
My favorite fighter,
Hmm.
like right now,
Uh-huh.
aside from my grandfather of all time, is Canelo.
Uh-huh.
So if I ever were to fight Canelo, that would be like, um, I don't know. I can't even put it into words. I think he's in my top five of all time.
Well, you tease me. You gotta give me your top five. Okay, yeah. Muhammad Ali, Canelo,
Yep.
three more.
Okay, so it's hard to put them in order,
Don't no
but
order.
okay, so I'll give you that's for sure the number two. My
Yep.
grandfather Canelo's top two.
Yep.
Um, Mike Tyson's in the top five, of course.
Hmm.
Sugar Ray Leonard's in my top five, and that leaves one more person. Uh, it's tough because you could say I'll say Sugar Ray Robinson.
Okay, good, good.
Yeah.
I was about to make the joke that people as young as us, we can't go Jack Dempsey, Jack Johnson unless you
Yeah.
go into the archives.
Right. I haven't seen. It's hard to find those fights.
Oh, I know. During this, the idea for the book came during COVID. So school gets canceled. My dad calls me. He says, "So what are you gonna do now that you're home?" I said, "Dad, I'm just gonna watch a lot of basketball." A week later, basketball gets canceled. I go on YouTube and I watch nothing but classic boxing. I watch every Tyson fight in order, and I didn't know the Buster Douglas fight was the one he lost. So I'm watching it live
Oh
for the
wow,
first time. And that was the moment where I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do until I can go outside again.
that's crazy. I can't imagine what that was like.
Oh, it was like the fight before. He's like, I'm the greatest in the world. No one can beat me. And
Yeah,
then that, oh, devastating. But thank you so much
of
for
course.
this conversation. I was wondering, would you want to maybe do another interview down the road?
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And do you know um when your next fight might be?
It won't be this year.
Okay.
I want to say late January.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully late January, early February.
And would your training camp be in Vegas?
Yeah, always in
Okay.
Vegas.
Always in Vegas. Now, who are your sparring partners? Do you have any notable?
I sparred with Caleb. I was his last Caleb Plant's last sparrings before his Durrell fight.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, I got amazing work with him. So I'm sure he lives in Vegas as well. So
Mhm.
and he's getting ready to fight. We'll be fighting the same time. I
Well,
believe his fight's in March
yes,
with
because
Benavidez.
Do you know Gerard in Caleb's camp, Smith, yeah, engaged. Yeah,
Yes.
he invited me out to that, so maybe we could coincide and
Yeah, no,
take
definitely.
because
So I'll probably be sparring with Caleb again, leading up to his fight and leading up to my fight, which will be always great.
fantastic. And so part of the book, I'm focusing on doing a lot of photos, what I call visual ethnography. And so taking as many photos as possible to correspond with the book. And so both, if I can, both of you guys in the ring, I mean, it would be
Yeah,
incredible. Um, but thank you so much for your time.
of course.
I really appreciate it. And congratulations on an excellent 6th round performance.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'll send you that video, by the way.
Awesome. Yeah, send it to
Yeah.
me and let me know. Let me know. Keep me updated on the book and everything.